Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Saturday, December the 7th. We're just going to do a quick position by position breakdown of this 4-game slate for Saturday night. Like always, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. Let me know down in the comments who are some of your favorite plays for tonight's slate. Always appreciate your guys' comments and feedback. And also, if you haven't yet, you can follow me on Twitter. My link to my Twitter is down in the description at DFS by Noah. Also, if you want to see some of the content I have available on Patreon, you can check out my Patreon as well. I won't have content up on the weekends for NBA. All my NBA content will just be posted Monday through Friday. But I will have stuff for the NFL slate. So if you're playing NFL this weekend and you want to see some of the content I have to offer for the NFL slate, you can check all that out on Patreon. I have my cash game player pool, my roster construction video talking through lineup builds and stuff for the NFL slate. On Sunday morning, I'll upload my final thoughts video, pretty much going through the slate and talking about my favorite plays. So I will have NFL content up this weekend. No NBA stuff though, but you can still check out all the content I have available on Patreon. And if you do sign up for NBA, it'll give you access to our Discord. So I'll at least be in the Discord on Saturday talking through this slate, even though I won't have content up. And if you do sign up, that'll give you access to all my content starting on Monday and then for the rest of the month. But let's go ahead and take a look at point guard for tonight's slate. So we got James Harden, Russell Westbrook, two most expensive options here. Harden 11-7 against the Suns, Westbrook 9,400 in the same matchup. I don't think either Westbrook or Harden are going to be priorities for me today, especially because I really like some of the Sixers guys now that we know that Joel Embiid is going to be out. If Mike Conley is out, I think Donovan Mitchell really stands out again at 7,600. Those are kind of the two guys I've really keyed in on at point guard. So for that reason, I don't think Harden or Westbrook are going to be top priorities for me. I mean, this is a really good spot, and this is a really good game to target. Right now, this game does have a 239.5 total, which is by far the highest on the slate. We have 4 games on the slate. Cleveland and Philadelphia, we don't have a total on yet. But you got a 208 total in Indiana, New York, 218 in Memphis, Utah, and then 239 in Houston, Phoenix. It makes sense. I mean, Houston and Phoenix are two of the top 10 teams in pace this season. Houston ranks second. Phoenix ranks 10th. So this is going to be a fast-paced game. There's going to be a lot of points scored. It depends on what kind of value we get. We might get some value from the Sixers depending on how their starting lineup is. Like, I doubt they start Kyle O'Quinn, but if he were to start, that would open up a value play, a really cheap value play. I don't think Harden's going to be a guy I prioritize on tonight's slate, though. I usually only play one lineup on the weekends. I don't play multiple lineups just because I'm not by my computer as much on the weekends. So in my one lineup, I don't think Harden's going to make the cut. I really like going to these Sixers guys since we do know that Joel Embiid's going to be out. Ben Simmons really stands out to me today on both sites. He's 8,200 on DraftKings. You can play him at point guard or small forward. $37 on Yahoo. I like him a lot over there as well. So if we do run the numbers this season with Joel Embiid off the floor, Ben Simmons' numbers actually aren't that great, which is kind of surprising. But we do see two guys that really see a relatively big boost. So in 390 minutes for Tobias Harris with Joel Embiid off the floor this season, 1.22 fantasy point per minute. He is averaging 25.2% usage rate. Al Horford, 385 minutes, 24.1% usage rate, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Ben Simmons, 368 minutes played without Joel Embiid, only at 18.6% usage rate, only averaging 1.15 fantasy points per minute. If we do look at the differential, his usage rate actually drops with Embiid off the floor, and his fantasy point per minute average is bumped up a little bit. Clearly the biggest boost, though, with Embiid off the floor this season has been Al Horford. Almost a 5% bump in his usage rate, averaging 0.23 fantasy points more per minute. We will talk about Al Horford when we get to power forward and center. I really like him on tonight's slate. I still like Ben Simmons, though. I mean, his assist percentage with Embiid off the floor is 35.5%. His total rebound percentage is 11.4%. Ben Simmons is always a threat for a triple-double. I think you're more likely to get a triple-double from him when a guy like Joel Embiid is off the floor. Obviously, with Embiid off the floor, that's a shot creator that's off the floor, a guy that's going to take a lot of shots, no longer on the floor, a guy that's going to rebound as well is no longer there. So we could easily see Ben Simmons put up a triple-double in tonight's game against the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs don't have a good defense at all. It's a really good spot for him. 8,200 on DraftKings. He firmly stands out. $37 on Yahoo. I like him a ton over there. even though the numbers like don't blow off the table with Joel Embiid off the floor, I do expect Ben Simmons to still be really productive when Embiid is off, and I do expect him to be more productive, I should say. But then Donovan Mitchell's the next guy I want to talk about. I'm going into this slate assuming Mike Conley is out. Obviously, if Conley's out, we'll have to make some changes. But Donovan Mitchell's 7,600. I like a ton today, assuming Conley's out. Over on Yahoo, he's at shooting guard. He's $33. I think he's one of the better shooting guard options on tonight's slate as well. So this is definitely a good spot. Memphis has struggled to defend point guards this season. With John Morant off the floor, I think that's going to differ. If you got Tyus Jones out there, Tyus Jones is a much better defender than John Morant. But still, this is a Memphis team that does play fast. They're top 10 in pace this season. They rank 6th in pace. So it is a pace-up spot for the Jazz. Mitchell does see increased usage when you take Mike Conley off the floor. He's going to be the primary ball handler. He's going to play point guard a lot. We can just look at the Jazz usage so far this season with Mike Conley off the floor. Donovan Mitchell already has a pretty high usage rate and assist percentage, but those numbers do slightly increase with him off the floor. So 305 minutes, 32.4% usage rate, 1.14 fantasy points per minute is his average. Only a 14% assist percentage, which is kind of surprising. It's kind of lower than I thought it would be. But still, he was really productive last game in a tough matchup against the Lakers. 33 minutes. That game blew out. He still played 33 minutes. Had 42 Draftkings points in that game when Conley sat. Much better spot here. Pace-up spot as well. 7,600 for Donovan Mitchell. Really like him today on this slate, assuming that Mike Conley remains out. He is questionable, so that'll be some news we just kind of have to wait and see on. Ricky Rubio, I like in that mid-range, 6,800 in that game against the Rockets. That's definitely going to be a game we want to get some exposure to, so Rubio stands out. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on the Memphis starting lineup. So Tyus Jones has been starting at point guard, but he just has not been playing that well. And we saw in their last game, DeAnthony Melton actually started the second half over Tyus Jones. Now, I'm not sure who closed out the game. I can actually look that up real quick just so we can see. So we can see who closed out the game because that's pretty big if they closed with Melton over Tyus Jones. Let me just go to that Memphis game. Find it on the game logs. Where's Memphis at? Jesus, I can't even find it. There it is, Memphis, Chicago. Let's pull up the rotation, see how the rotations shook out. So you did have Tyus Jones start, played his normal stint, 7 minutes, subbed out, then played 6 minutes in the second quarter. But you see here, DeAnthony Melton played in the third quarter, started the third quarter over him, and DeAnthony Melton nearly played the entire fourth quarter and closed out the game over Tyus Jones. So I think that is pretty big. We could honestly see DeAnthony Melton start over Tyus Jones today, and if that's the case, with how productive DeAnthony Melton has been when he's gotten the minutes, I really like him on today's slate. Even if he doesn't start, he's not the worst play, just given how he's played better than Jones and getting more minutes than Jones. He's still really cheap on Yahoo at $12. He's been productive so far with John Morant out. He's been getting solid minutes, 23, 25, and 30 minutes, 35, 32, and 28 Draftkings points. One thing that I really like is that he's contributing with the peripherals. He's not really scoring dependent. Even if he scores 10 points, he can still get you there because he will get rebounds, he'll get assists. 7 assists, 5 rebounds his last game against the Bulls. Only 8 points in that game. Still had 3 steals as well. So he'll kind of contribute in all categories. Tough matchup against the Jazz, no doubt, but 5,200 for Melton. If we're going to get him starting and playing 30 minutes, which is pretty likely, especially with how poor Tyus Jones has played, it's very likely they move Jones back to the bench and then they decide to start Melton, which would definitely put him in play as one of the better values at 5,200. Even if Tyus Jones plays, I'll probably be looking at, or even if Tyus Jones starts, I should say, I'll probably be looking elsewhere, even though he's cheap on today's slate. That's probably it for me for point guard values. If Mike Conley's out, I'm not going to be playing Emmanuel Mudiay. People went to Mudiay on the last slate. He was actually kind of popular. He's just not going to get a ton of minutes. He's really only going to play backup point guard. I don't even know what his price is. He's up to 4K. He played 10 minutes in the last game, 4 Draftkings points. They're just not giving Emmanuel Mudiay minutes. So even if Conley is out, I have no interest there. So moving on to shooting guard, this is a position I have a lot of plays here that I've already talked about. Devin Booker, I didn't really talk about much. I think on tonight's slate, I do prefer Ben Simmons over him for cheaper. I do prefer Donovan Mitchell for $1,000 cheaper, especially if Mike Conley is out. But I would definitely have, if I was playing multiple lineups, I would have a game stack of that Phoenix-Houston game because of how many points should be scored and just the pace. And in that case, I would definitely want exposure to Devin Booker. But in my one lineup, I don't think he makes the cut in my one lineup, at least not for tonight. So just in this mid-range at shooting guard, Dillon Brooks could definitely be interesting here. He's been playing really well with Ja Morant off the floor. Had a bad game against Chicago last game, which was very frustrating. I had quite a bit of exposure to him over on Yahoo. Only played 24 minutes, 16 DraftKings points. He is listed as questionable, which is going to be a pretty big injury to watch. I'm honestly not sure who would start if he was out. Maybe they start Melton and Jones alongside each other. I could see them doing that. Let's just see the Memphis shooting guards. Honestly, yeah, it'd probably be Grayson Allen. So Grayson Allen would probably start if Dillon Brooks is out, and that would honestly put Grayson Allen in play as a value. I mean, since Ja Morant was injured, he's played 30, 27, and 25 minutes, so he's gotten the minutes. And if Dillon Brooks is out, that just frees up more minutes in the backcourt. So Grayson Allen could be in play as a value shooting guard. If Brooks is out today, definitely going to keep an eye on that one. He's really the guy that I like, though, if you're going for value at this position. There's no punt plays I see just looking at this slate the night before. So moving on to small forward and talking about small forward, definitely have interest in Tobias Harris with no Joel Embiid today. He does see a slight boost. We can pull the numbers back up real quick just so you guys can see. I mean, it's gonna be the big three that sees the biggest boost. I just took Tobias Harris off the floor. I didn't mean to do that. It's gonna be Harris, Horford, and Simmons that see the biggest boost in this game with Joel Embiid off the floor, and those are the three guys that you expect to be the most productive. So Tobias Harris has a 25.2% usage rate and 390 minutes this season with Embiid off the floor. 1.22 fantasy points per minute is his average. 15.4% assist percentage, 14.3 total rebound percentage. If we look at the differential, that is a slight bump in his his usage rate, plus 1.1%. 0.19 more fantasy point per minute he's averaging. So Tobias Harris is firmly in play. Definitely the best small forward option if you can get to him. Kelly Oubre, though, I'm for sure fine dropping down to. I really like Oubre when he plays in fast-paced games. This should be the case against Houston. 6,500. Oubre's firmly in play on tonight's slate. I mean, it's small forward. I'm clearly going to have a ton of exposure to Oubre and Harris. Those would be the two guys I would want the most. You can play Ben Simmons, though, at small forward, which is very appealing on DraftKings at least. I would definitely be looking to do that, especially with some of the guard values we could have today. There's really no value at small forward. So I was on Joe Ingles quite a bit on the last slate when Mike Conley was out. He did start in that game, started at shooting guard. He played 28 minutes, only had 12 DraftKings points though. He wasn't very productive. He did see his price drop down to 4,500 though. Pace up spot here against the Grizzlies. I mean, much better matchup than facing the Lakers. If we get Conley out and Ingles starting again, he's not the worst value play at 4,500, especially on a short 4-game slate where our options are kind of limited. I could definitely see going to Ingles. And then Cedi Osman, someone I want to talk about. I actually played Cedi Osman in my main lineup on Friday night, and it worked out well. He had a big game with Kevin Love out. I think if Kevin Love is out again, Cleveland's going to need to find some scoring somewhere. So Cedi Osman, 4,200, definitely would be in play as a value. He was 3,900 on Friday night. He saw a slight boost in his price. But still, he's going to play pretty big minutes as long as the game can stay competitive. And if Love is out, he does see a slight bump in his usage and his usage and his fantasy point per minute average. So I'll be keeping my eye on that Kevin Love news. I think that's pretty big heading into tonight's slate. But moving on to power forward, this is a position where I do have a lot of interest in the guys from the Sixers. You can play Tobias Harris at power forward. Al Horford, I think, is one of the better power forward options on tonight's slate. He's 6,700 on DraftKings, and over on Yahoo, he's at $29. I think he stands out a ton over there, where he's $8 cheaper than Sabonis. And even on DraftKings, you got Horford for $800 cheaper than Sabonis. People might go to Sabonis, definitely because his price has come down. He's down to $7,500 on DraftKings, which is too cheap for Domantas Sabonis. This is a guy that's going to give you 40 to 45 DraftKings points most nights. Facing a Knicks team that plays big. Sabonis already plays big minutes, but he's going to be needed in this matchup to play probably 34 to 36 minutes. Firmly in play at power forward, but I do really like Al Horford here, and I expect Al Horford probably starts at center with Embiid out. I think it's very unlikely that they start Kyle O'Quinn. People might expect that, but I don't see that being the case. They're probably going to start Simmons at point guard. Korkmaz will start at shooting guard. They'll slide Horford down to center. They'll slide Tobias Harris down to power forward, and then you'll probably see Melise Thybulle start at small forward. I imagine that's the starting lineup they roll with. If we're going to get Horford starting at center in a matchup against the Cavs, I really like him at 6,700. He's been very productive this season with Joel Embiid off the floor. His assist percentage is pretty high with 20.8%. His usage is high, 24.1%. It sees the biggest bump on the team, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I mean, if you give Horford 30 minutes here with no Embiid on the floor, he probably projects for close to 40, if not more, DraftKings points. And at 6,700, getting a guy that projects for over 40 DK points clearly stands out as one of the better power forward options. Really like him and Simmons today. I think Tobias Harris, though, is firmly in play at 7,400 as well. The big injury news we're going to need to watch, though, at this position is Kevin Love. He sat out on Friday with the illness. It's a back-to-back, so I think it's pretty likely he does not play again. If that's the case, if Love is out again, I'll be going right back to Larry Nance, where he's still only 5,200 on DraftKings. He was in my main lineup on Friday night slate once we got the news Love was out. He didn't play that well. I mean, he played huge minutes, though, I'm pretty sure. I can check that real quick. He played 40 minutes Friday night against the Magic. Only had 21 fantasy points, so he wasn't very productive, but the minutes were there. And if Kevin Love's out again, I expect him to play big minutes again. I'm not really going to be going to him on Yahoo, where you have to play him at center, and there's some really good center plays I like in that upper mid-range. But on DraftKings, where you can play Nance at power forward center, and where he's only 5,200, I think he clearly stands out as one of the better power forward options, just assuming Kevin Love is out. Now, if Kevin Love plays, we'll have to make some changes, and obviously you don't want to go to Love, or you don't want to play Larry Nance if Love plays, but I'm assuming Love is out since it's a back-to-back. Usually when guys get injured or miss games on the front end of a back-to-back because of injury or illness, that usually means they're not going to play on the second end either. So that will open up Nance at 5,200 and would become a really good power forward option. Jetty Osman, 4,200, I would like as well if Kevin Love is out. I could see Check Diallo getting some minutes here, and I think this definitely is interesting. I could easily see him being one of the better tournament plays on tonight's slate. He should be relatively low owned. This is a matchup where I see Diallo playing more minutes than Frank Kaminsky. We do know that Aaron Baines is doubtful. He's unlikely to play. And with this matchup against Clint Capella, I don't think Frank Kaminsky is going to have much success guarding Clint Capella. I just don't think that's going to work. So Check Diallo for 3,800. We could see this be one of those games where he gets 25, 30 minutes, kind of like he did against the Nuggets. He played 36 minutes in that game. They needed his size to guard Jokic. He was very productive with 32 DraftKings points. I'm not going to project Diallo for 36 minutes, but I think in tournaments, definitely want exposure to Check Diallo because it's pretty likely they use him here to guard Clint Capella, that he's needed. His size is needed. Rather, Frank Kaminsky's just not big enough, not strong enough. I don't think he's he's too small to guard Clint Capella. Clint Capella will just abuse him on the glass. So we could probably see 25 minutes of Check Diallo today. And if that was the case, 3,800, I would have a ton of interest in him as a power forward value play. And then I guess we need to talk about Kyle O'Quinn. People are probably going to look to him today with Joel Embiid out, but I think it's very likely that he just plays backup center, and he just backs up Al Horford. So the 30 to 32 minutes that Al Horford's going to play at center, you'll see the other 14 to 16 minutes go to Kyle O'Quinn. I mean, I don't want to play Kyle O'Quinn if he's only going to play 16 minutes. I know he's really productive, but hard for me to have a ton of confidence in him. Now, if we get news if we get news before lock, this is a 7:30 game, so we should have the news before lock. If we get news that Kyle O'Quinn is going to start, then just jam him in. I mean, he'd be a top value play, but I don't expect him to start, so that's why I'm not including him into the core plays, because I don't think he's going to start today. So let's go ahead and talk about some centers real quick just before we end the video. Got some really intriguing options at the top with Clint Capella and Jonas Valanciunas. So Clint Capella is in a really good spot here against the Suns with no Aaron Baines. It's going to be some combination of Check Diallo and Frank Kaminsky attempting to guard Clint Capella. He should just be able to abuse those guys on the glass. Capella is always a threat for a 20-20 double-double. He's just got so much rebound upside. He's second in the league in rebounds per game this year. His total rebound percentage is through the roof with the Rockets this season. So love Clint Capella today. On DraftKings, I do slightly prefer him over Jonas Valanciunas, but if we go over to Yahoo, Capella's $35, and then you have Valanciunas all the way down there at $28. I really like Jonas Valanciunas on Yahoo, and he is one of my favorite center plays over there. So he has seen really consistent minutes the last 3 games, 33, 31, and 28 minutes. He did face this Jazz team November 29th and had a big game against them, 53 fantasy points in 31 minutes. I really don't care what matchup Jonas Valanciunas is in. I just want him playing 30 minutes, and I think in this spot against Rudy Gobert, a big center like Gobert, they're going to need Valanciunas out there to play 30 minutes, and he did play almost 32 minutes the last time they faced the Jazz. Getting 30 minutes of Valanciunas with how productive he is a really good center option on Yahoo today at $28, and definitely stands out as one of the guys that can just really blow that salary out of the water. Like Horford, Simmons, even D'Anthony Melton, like all these guys are incredibly underpriced on Yahoo. Jonas Valanciunas as well at $28. The price just hasn't caught up to the production. He is more productive with Ja Morant off the floor, and we know Brandon Clark's going to be out, which just frees up more minutes in the front court, makes it more likely that Valanciunas plays 30-plus minutes. I think I'd slightly prefer Capella over him on Draftkings, but both guys are very solid center plays. Obviously, you can play Horford at center, who I like a ton today. You can play Larry Nance, assuming Kevin Love is out. You can play him at center. Tristan Thompson would definitely be interesting. He wouldn't be a top center play for me, but if Kevin Love is out, I think Tristan Thompson at 6,100, especially if you're playing multiple lineups, he would definitely be in play as a center option. But other than that, there's really not much to talk about besides the guys I've already mentioned. If you want to take a shot on Diallo, I would definitely do that today. I think it's pretty likely he sees solid minutes against Capella. So 3,800 for Diallo. You could take him in some of your GPP lineups as a flyer. And then Kyle Quinn's just kind of a wait and see. I'm assuming he comes off the bench, and if that's the case, I don't really want to go to him. If he starts, though, he'll be the best value play on the slate, so we'll just have to wait and see there. So I think we pretty much covered center, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything for this 4-game slate. Pretty quick video. Just wanted to give some of my quick analysis, quick thoughts on this 4-gamer. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to check out my Patreon, I won't have content up for this NBA slate or for the Sunday NBA slate, but I will have stuff up for NFL this weekend. Some content will go up Saturday, and then the rest will go up Sunday morning. So if you want to see all the NFL content I have for this upcoming slate, you can check out my Patreon. Even if you want to join through NBA, if you join through NBA, you'll get access to the Discord, so you can get in Discord and talk about Saturday's slate with all the other people in Discord. I'll be in there as well. And if you join for NBA today, you will get access to all my content starting on Monday through Friday, and then that'll cover you for the rest of the month. So definitely check out my Patreon down below, see what I have to offer. If you did enjoy this video, drop a like. I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments who are some of your favorite plays on tonight's slate. But I think that's it, guys. Good luck tonight. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.